Welcome to our deep dive, everybody.
Glad to be here.
Today we're going to be tackling cultural evolution and human identity.
Yeah.
And we're focusing specifically on chapter 3 of our source material.
Right.
And it takes us through a lot of really interesting stuff, like the development of language and the rise of myths and religion and the ever-evolving world of art and culture.
It really is.
It's a big topic.
Yeah, it's massive. And it asks us to think about how these cultural developments shaped not just our societies,
Right.
but the very way we think and experience the world.
Yeah, like how did we go from, grunting at each other to composing symphonies?
Exactly. And that's really what's so fascinating about this chapter. It's not just laying out like, here are the facts.
Right.
It's encouraging us to think about the why.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're going to try to do today.
Yeah, so let's dive into it. Let's start with language. One of the things that the source material points out is that we might never know exactly when or how language began,
It's true.
which is just crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But it does present three prevailing theories. You got the bow wow theory, the poo poo theory, and then the yo he ho theory.
Yeah, I love those names.
Yeah.
They're very descriptive.
Yeah, and they each kind of offer a different perspective on where language may have come from. So the bow wow theory is basically saying that language emerged from people just like mimicking natural sounds. Like think about early humans like imitating animal calls
Right, exactly.
to convey meaning.
So it's kind of like when we teach kids,
Right.
animal sounds like the cow says moo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it might seem kind of simplistic, but it does really highlight
It's
the importance of imitation
Yes.
in early language development.
Yeah.
So then you have the poo-poo theory, which suggests that our first words were more like emotional outbursts, like cries of pain or shouts of joy or something like that.
Yeah, and that one I think is interesting because it kind of underscores the connection between language and our,
Right.
emotions.
Yeah.
Like even before we had a complex vocabulary,
Yeah.
we were using sounds to express our feelings
Affect
about
the world. Yeah. And I mean, even today,
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes like a gasp or a sigh can say more than
Totally.
words ever could.
I totally agree.
And then finally, we have this yo-he-ho theory,
Yes.
which links the development of language to rhythmic chants
Uh-huh.
that were used during group activities like
Yeah.
coordinated labor or something.
Right, like moving a big rock or something.
Yeah.
Everyone's working together.
Yeah, and they had to communicate somehow,
Yeah.
so they're all chanting in unison.
Yeah, that's a really compelling idea.
Yeah, it is.
And I think it highlights that language isn't just about like individual expression,
Right.
but it's really tied to
Yeah.
social interaction and cooperation.
Yeah, so we've got these three kind of like
Woo!
main theories about where language came from. But what was really interesting to me in chapter 3
Yeah.
was how much it talked about how language really transformed
It did.
human consciousness.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about communicating like
Right.
your basic needs.
Exactly.
It actually allowed us to form complex thoughts and share abstract ideas and even reflect on ourselves.
Yeah, and the source material actually uses the term cognitive revolution to describe this shift.
Yeah.
And they're arguing that language actually like rewired our brains,
Oh.
which is a pretty powerful statement.
Yeah.
But you can see how that could be true because it paved the way for us to think abstractly, to plan for the future,
Yeah.
and to create like symbolic representations of the world.
It's really kind of wild to think about
It is.
what was going on in the minds of those early humans before language.
Yeah.
Like, what was it like to not have the ability
Yeah.
to put your experiences into words?
It's a question that has fascinated people for centuries.
Yeah.
And we may never know for sure.
Right.
But what we do know is that language became the foundation for everything that followed.
Right.
Like our ability to build complex societies and transmit knowledge.
Yeah.
And even grapple with like the big existential questions
Yeah.
that define the human experience.
Totally. And that brings us to, I think, the next section of chapter 3, which is the role of myths and religion.
Yeah, myths and religion.
So imagine, early humans
Mm-hmm.
looking up at the night sky
Right.
or like witnessing a crazy thunderstorm.
Yeah, or just grappling with the mysteries of life and death.
Exactly. And they're searching for explanations.
Mhm.
They want meaning.
They want to understand.
Yeah. They want a sense of order in a world that often feels chaotic.
Right.
And that's where myths and religions come in.
Exactly.
They offer us answers. They offer us comfort. They offer us a framework for understanding our existence.
And chapter 3 really emphasizes how those early myths weren't just like fanciful stories.
Right.
They were really attempts to explain natural phenomena and codify social behaviors.
It's like they served as this kind of like proto-science.
Exactly.
Offering explanations for things that they just didn't have the tools to understand yet.
Right.
Why does the sun rise and set? Why are there seasons? What happens after we die?
All these huge questions, and those explanations get woven into narratives, and they get passed down through generations, and they really shaped cultural values and beliefs.
It's so interesting how, like, even though we now have scientific explanations for a lot of these things, those early myths still resonate.
They do. Yeah.
We still tell stories.
Right.
We still create narratives and seek meaning.
You want to make sense of the world.
In the world around us.
Totally.
And the source material even argues that we're still creating myths today, just in different forms.
Right. Like the stories we tell ourselves about technology or progress or even our own identities.
Yeah.
I mean, we are constantly trying to understand ourselves and our place in the world.
Yeah, so I think the takeaway here is just this impulse to create myths.
To create meaning.
To find meaning and order in chaos.
Yes.
Is deeply ingrained in us as humans.
It's part of what makes us human.
Right.
It connects us to those early humans gazing up at the stars.
Yeah.
Wondering about their place in the universe.
Totally. And that brings us to the final section of chapter 3, which is art and culture.
Yeah.
And the source material is really adamant about art not just being about aesthetics.
Yeah.
It's woven into like every aspect of the human experience.
Yes, it is.
It's about expressing our emotions.
It's about connection.
Connecting with others.
Celebrating our heritage.
Challenging
the status quo.
Yeah, and it's about those like shared experiences that bind us together as like a community, a society, a culture.
It really is.
And when we look at art across different cultures and time periods, we gain insights into their values and their beliefs and even like the anxieties of those societies.
It's cave paintings.
Yeah.
They offer us this glimpse into the lives of our prehistoric ancestors.
Totally.
Ancient temples reflect the spiritual aspirations of the people who built them.
Exactly. And think about how music and dance and literature and even fashion reflect like the complexities of our modern world.
Right. And each creative expression tells a story, conveys an emotion, offers a commentary on the human condition.
Yeah. Chapter 3 really wants us to think about art, not just as a product, but as a process.
As this act of creation.
Yeah.
This impulse to express ourselves, to leave our mark on the world.
Totally.
And how those expressions shape our individual identities. Yeah.
And contribute to this larger tapestry of human culture.
Yeah, and I think that's a great place to leave it for today.
I agree.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll be back next time to continue exploring this fascinating topic.
I can't wait. You know, it's really amazing how chapter 3 connects all of these seemingly like disparate elements of human culture, you know, language, myth art.
Yeah.
And it shows how they all intertwine.
Right.
To shape who we are.
Yeah, it's like they build on each other.
Exactly.
Language allows us to articulate myths and stories, which then inspire incredible works of art. And art, in turn, helps to spread those beliefs and ideas and shape our cultural landscape.
And I think as we go deeper into chapter 3, we see how these cultural developments weren't just like isolated events.
Right.
They actually played a crucial role in some of the most significant turning points in human history. You know, like the agricultural revolution.
The agricultural revolution.
Exactly.
That moment when humans went from nomadic hunter-gatherers to settled farmers, cultivating crops, and just transforming the landscape.
Completely changing our relationship with the world.
It's such a fascinating moment in history. And chapter 3 really dives into it, highlighting the impact that it had on human societies.
It's almost hard to fathom.
Yeah.
Like such a dramatic shift in lifestyle.
Yeah, going from just like roaming free to putting down roots, like literally.
Right.
What were some of the key changes?
Well, for one, it led to the establishment of permanent settlements.
Oh, okay.
So humans no longer had to constantly be migrating in search of food. They could stay in one place and cultivate the land.
Yeah.
And that led to population growth.
So instead of small, scattered bands of hunter-gatherers, you start to see larger, more complex communities forming.
Exactly. And that obviously...
changed social structures.
Yeah. How so?
Well, as communities grew, you needed more organization and leadership.
Right.
So we see the emergence of social hierarchies.
Okay.
Specialized labor systems of governance.
So basically the seeds of early cities.
Yeah. Chapter 3 even draws a connection between the rise of agriculture and the development of early cities.
Wow. It's amazing to think that something as simple as planting seeds could have such a ripple effect.
It is.
And lay the groundwork for the civilizations that we know today.
Yeah, but as you mentioned earlier, these advancements didn't come without consequences.
Right. Chapter 3 talks about the negative impacts of the agricultural revolution on the environment.
Like deforestation.
Right, to create farmland.
Which led to habitat loss and soil erosion.
Yeah.
And the need to irrigate crops often led to depletion of water resources.
It's like the classic double-edged sword of progress.
Yeah.
We make these incredible advancements, but they often come at a cost.
At a cost to the environment.
Yeah, and Chapter 3 argues that pattern kind of continues throughout human history.
But think about the Industrial Revolution.
Oh, yeah?
Incredible technological advancements, but also pollution and the exploitation of natural resources.
Yeah, it's a reminder that we need to be mindful of those unintended consequences.
Absolutely.
Even when our actions are driven by innovation and progress.
Exactly. Yeah. So how do we reconcile that tension between progress and environmental responsibility?
It's a big question.
It is a big question. And Chapter 3 suggests that we can learn a lot from indigenous cultures around the world.
Yeah.
Many indigenous communities have lived sustainably for centuries. Their practices are rooted in a deep understanding and respect for the natural world.
That's a really interesting point.
Yeah, and it's something that I think modern societies have kind of lost touch with.
Yeah, we've focused on dominating and controlling nature.
Right.
And indigenous cultures emphasize living in harmony with it.
Exactly.
Because it's almost like we need to kind of relearn that ancient wisdom.
And Chapter 3 highlights the importance of incorporating indigenous knowledge into our modern approaches to environmental challenges.
So it's not about rejecting progress.
Right.
It's about finding ways to progress sustainably. Yeah.
Drawing on the wisdom of the past to inform our actions in the present.
And Chapter 3 even goes a step further.
Yeah.
It challenges us to redefine what success looks like.
Because right now, our metrics of success are often tied to economic growth and material wealth and technological advancement.
Yeah, but what if we shifted our focus to well-being?
Yes.
Both for ourselves and for the planet.
Exactly. It's a paradigm shift, a fundamental change in how we view the world.
Instead of prioritizing endless consumption and material accumulation, what if we focused on creating a world where everyone has access to the resources they need to thrive while also ensuring the health and sustainability
of the planet.
And
Chapter 3 calls for a move away from this mindset of domination and extraction to one of stewardship and reciprocity.
It's about recognizing that we're part of nature, not separate from it.
And that our actions have consequences, not just for ourselves, but for future generations.
And that's such a powerful reminder, especially when we're facing things like climate change.
Absolutely.
And biodiversity loss.
Yeah. We can't afford to keep operating under the assumption that our resources are infinite.
Right.
And that our actions won't have lasting impacts.
Yeah. So how do we bring about this paradigm shift?
That's the question.
How do we move from this culture of unsustainable consumption to one of mindful stewardship?
Well, Chapter 3 highlights the role of education and individual action. We need to empower people with the knowledge and the tools to make informed choices.
Right. And those choices can be anything from choosing sustainable products to reducing our carbon footprint to advocating for policies that protect the environment.
Oh, exactly. Every action counts.
I love that. Fostering a sense of interconnectedness, recognizing that our choices impact not just ourselves, but communities and ecosystems around the world.
We need to move beyond this narrow focus on individual gain and embrace a more holistic view of our place in this web of life.
Well, this has been a really thought-provoking conversation.
It has.
We've covered so much ground.
So much.
From the origins of language to the future of technology.
Yeah.
From the wisdom of indigenous cultures to the power of individual action.
And while the challenges are definitely immense,
yeah,
Chapter 3 leaves us with a sense of hope.
Yeah, I think so too.
We have the knowledge, the technology,
yeah,
and most importantly, the human capacity for innovation and compassion
to create a more sustainable and equitable future.
Exactly.
Chapter 3 does a really good job of showing how our relationship with the environment has evolved alongside, our cultural development.
Right.
But it doesn't just leave us there.
Yeah.
It actually dives into some potential solutions for the future. Mm-hmm. And it focuses specifically on how we can use technology to create a more sustainable world.
Yeah, because technology has often been part of the problem. Think about fossil fuels, mass production, industrial pollution.
Yeah.
But Chapter 3 argues that it can also be a really powerful tool for positive change.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot lately, especially with all the advancements in renewable energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's really exciting to see.
It is.
How solar and wind and geothermal technologies are becoming more efficient and affordable.
Yeah, and those are definitely key players in this transition to a clean energy future.
Right.
But Chapter 3 goes beyond just renewable energy sources.
Yeah.
It highlights innovations in sustainable agriculture.
Okay.
Like precision farming techniques that use sensors and data to optimize water and fertilizer use.
So we're minimizing waste and environmental impact.
Minimizing the negative impacts.
Oh, wow.
And maximizing the positives.
It's like combining that ancient wisdom of working with the land with cutting-edge technology to create a more harmonious relationship between agriculture and the environment.
And then you've got material science.
Oh, yeah.
Which is exploring everything from biodegradable plastics to recycled building materials.
So cool.
Which I think is so crucial for reducing our reliance on finite resources and creating a more circular economy.
Yeah, where waste is minimized.
Yeah, it's like we're really starting to challenge those assumptions about what's possible.
Yeah, and Chapter 3 acknowledges that technology alone isn't enough.
It's not a silver bullet.
Yeah.
We need a shift in our mindset.
Right, like a more sustainable way of living.
Yes. It goes beyond just adopting new gadgets and gizmos.
So the source material emphasizes systems thinking.
Yes.
Like recognizing that interconnectedness of everything, the environment, our communities, our own well-being.
Right. Our actions have ripple effects.
Totally.
What we do in one part of the world can impact people and ecosystems.
Yeah.
Far away.
It's like expanding our circle of compassion.
Yes.
Realizing that we're all part of this intricate web of life.
Yeah, and Chapter 3 highlights the role of education in this.
Right.
We need to empower future generations with the knowledge and the critical thinking skills and the sense of responsibility.
To navigate these complex environmental challenges.
Yeah, it's about fostering a sense of stewardship.
I love that.
Yeah.
Fostering a sense of stewardship.
It's not about guilt or blame.
Right.
It's about empowerment.
Yeah.
Realizing that we all have a role to play.
And that role can take so many forms.
It can be as simple as making conscious choices in our daily lives.
Right.
Like reducing our consumption, supporting sustainable businesses, advocating for policies that protect the environment.
I mean, every action really does count.
Every action counts.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive.
It has.
We've learned so much
about
the evolution of human culture
Yeah.
and our complex relationship with the natural world.
And even though the challenges are immense, Chapter 3 leaves us with that sense of hope.
I agree. And a call to action.
Yeah.
You know, we have the knowledge, we have the tools, and most importantly, we have the human capacity for innovation and compassion.
Yes.
To create a more sustainable and equitable future.
It's up to us.
It is. And as we wrap up this deep dive,
I
just want to encourage everyone listening to really reflect on what we've talked about.
Yeah.
And think about how you can contribute to this collective effort.
Because every action,
every choice,
every voice
makes a difference.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.